All right, welcome to the video. Super happy to have you here. If you are brand new to my stuff, then a lot of this information might hit you in the face a little bit. I'm going to go over my exact process, my exact formula, my exact methodology that I used to go from 213 pounds to 172 pounds. Took me about a year and a bit, just over a year, 13, 14 months, something like that. And I'm going to go through that. So there's three phases that I went through to the point I am at today. Actually, I just finished this up as of this video right now. I finished up the last of that phase, my last 12-week fat loss phase. I just finished that a couple weeks ago. So this is kind of brand new, and I'm holding it pretty good. I feel pretty lean. Feel pretty good. I feel very good. Truthfully, I'm actually extremely proud of where I've got to, and I'm in a new phase now, which I'm sure I'll be dropping a lot of content about that in the future as well. But anyways, this video is all about how I transformed myself from 213 pounds to 172. So that's 40 pounds, just over 40 pounds, but around 40 pounds. I truthfully was probably around 214, 215. I know I hit it a couple times, but I kind of hung out around 213 at my heaviest. And then I hit 172 at my lowest a few weeks ago. And that was in my last 12-week fat loss phase. And I got to, I don't know this for sure to be, perfectly transparent with you, but I got around 10% body fat, which is what that looks like to me. So we can be fairly certain that somewhere around 10%, leanest I've ever been, best I've ever looked, and best I've ever felt, if I'm being perfectly honest. So this is my step-by-step process. Let's get into it. So I did this all without wasting time cooking complex meal recipes, thousands of dollars a week of groceries, hours of cardio or joint crushing, high intensity interval training, cutting out my carbs. I ate plenty of rice, plenty of sugar, plenty of potatoes, plenty of pizza. I actually ate, funny, out of those four, I had pizza at least once every week, a full pizza, and I had sugar in all my coffees, which I'll get to in a second. I did it without tracking my macros perfectly 100% of the time. I did it without carnivore, keto, fasting, or any other unsustainable diet that's far too extreme. And I did it without any fat loss supplements or stimulants besides caffeine. Full transparency, I do take testosterone. I've been on testosterone since 2021, so about 4 years now. And so I just kept that the same dose, same I've always had for this entire process. So that didn't really change much throughout the last year and a half, if any at all. I haven't really been focused on that at all. That's just something that I keep in as I would call it a replacement dose, but if we're being perfectly honest, it's a little bit higher. So it's at a replacement plus a little bit higher. My testosterone rides just above that kind of upper range on my blood work. Let's keep going here. So I did this all without relying on shakes and powders. For me, I don't digest any of them well, so I just haven't had them in years. You can use them, a lot of my clients do, but I just didn't. I didn't do this without, I didn't have to avoid social events or alcohol. I don't drink much at all anymore. But I did have some drinks with friends on a few different occasions, but I definitely didn't avoid social events at all, for sure. That's very important to me. And I didn't avoid fun trips or vacations. I actually traveled outside the country 4 times during. Actually, I say 4 times, but that was I traveled 4 times outside the country just in the last 12 weeks. So I traveled triple that, if not more, over the last. Actually, yeah, probably more if we're considering that entire uh, year and a half almost phase. That were the total 40 pounds. I must have traveled 12 times probably. um, I didn't cut out any restaurant food. I ate out at least 2 times per week actually this entire process. And some of these phases in my maintenance phase it would have been more often, but during fat loss phase bring it down to 2 times per week. I'll get to that in a second. That's part of my protocol. And like I said, zero sugar. So I didn't cut out sugar at all. So I didn't have zero sugar. I actually put sugar in every coffee that I have, and I have about 3 or 4 a day. So yeah, whether it's Starbucks, Tim Hortons, or if it's my own concoction at home, I'll just put sugar in. So yeah, none of these things. Usually, out of all these, to get really good results, people are usually relying on two, three, four, five, six of these. Far too extreme, not sustainable at all, and honestly, it's not enjoyable. So that's what I didn't do. How did I do this then? Let's go through it. So phase one. Phase one was my 16-week fat loss phase. This is the first one. This was all intuitive. So here are my strategies. 3 meals per day, weighed in daily, monitored hunger, like I said, intuitive, habit-based, zero snacking, 2 free meals per week, hit my daily step target, which I forget at the time, but I think it was a lot lower, like 8,000. And my workout, strength and hypertrophy, same as usual. Workouts don't really work that well to burn body fat, so this is a big mistake a lot of people make. Big misconception is hyper focusing on the training. I don't change my training much at all. I changed a little bit more so for my recent 12-week fat loss, which I'll get to in a second, but not because I wanted specific results. It was because I wanted to still focus on preserving muscle mass and get into the gym and be consistent with it, but I didn't want to live in the gym and waste a ton of time there. Zero calorie tracking. Yeah, so it was intuitive habit based, which means we weren't tracking anything. Didn't weigh a single meal that whole time. Here are my results. I basically went from fat or chubby to fit. 213 to 185-ish in 16 weeks, so 28 pounds or so. And yeah, this was November, and this would have been March of that prior year over that 16 weeks. Looked pretty good, you know. I don't have abs, still a little soft, but I look fit, you know. I felt really good. Almost 30 freaking pounds. You can see my quads starting to come in there, which is cool. Lost the love handles in the lower gut. And my face looks a lot better. You can actually see the jawline, which is nice. Phase two. So then I moved into 40-week maintenance phase. This is actually really important. This is where you rebuild metabolism and not have to hyper focus on being leaner, because that's not the goal here, right? I take my clients through this process as well. So I went through this process myself. So strategies for this was 3 to 4 meals per day. Wasn't super strict on that, but I was a lot more strict on snacking. Weighed in daily, but I wasn't even super consistent with that. Looking back, I should have been, and I'm staying consistent with that now as I move out of my last fat loss phase. I think it's important. If I miss the odd day, I'm not worried, but it is really important, because if you don't weigh in daily, you're not going to have that data. So more data is going to be better when it comes to this. So if my body weight goes a certain way, or if my body composition shows a certain way, I want to look back on that data and be able to make informed decisions. So weighing in daily helps me do that, whether I'm losing fat or not. So I would change that moving forward. This was intuitive, habit-based, so I didn't count any calories or track any macros, didn't weigh anything. I did continue to monitor snacking, but I wasn't as strict. This is already a habit that's kind of pre-built into me really, really good now from years of practicing it. So it rarely gets out of control. And again, I'm weighing daily, so I can, for the most part, so I can monitor, okay, if body weight's starting to run away on me, I can tighten up on the snacking. So I was very mindful of it, but I definitely wasn't as strict as I was when I was dieting, which is good. That's the point, right? Shouldn't be. 2 to 3 free meals. So I didn't just have the 2 free meals like I would when I was dieting. I bumped it up to 3, maybe, honestly, maybe more. I might have done more, but at least 2 or 3. Hit my daily step target. Workouts, same as usual. Didn't change anything there. Just pushed more because I had the energy. I had the food, right? So I could push harder. And again, 0 is calorie tracking. So results. Successfully maintained my body fat percentage. Maintained 185 to 190. This is what I look like. So yeah, about a 5-pound kind of jump, and then kind of hung out in that 5-pound channel for 40 weeks, right? A good chunk of a year almost that I spent just hanging out, not focusing on gaining weight, not focused on dropping weight, just focusing on healthy habits, enjoying food, not getting fatter, staying the same body fat percentage, and yeah, just staying consistent with my fitness. It's not sexy. There's a lot of people have a hard time with this because it's for that reason. It's not sexy, right? You're not trying to go after like a short-term goal. It's like, I'm just hanging out. It can be tough mentally for people. But it was very valuable because it really rebuilt my metabolism after that fat loss phase, which is extremely important for when I move into the next fat loss phase. So I was nowhere near my potential when I was at this point, but I had some new problems when I got here. So obviously I was quite successful with what I wanted, but like I said, this is I got to this point where I'm like, okay, I'm not near my potential. I'm fit. I want to look freaky. I want to look awesome. I want to take off my shirt at the beach. People be like, whoa, okay, that guy's not fit. That guy's crazy lean. And I want to have a six-pack again. I've had that in the past for several years of my life. And I'm like, I want to have a six-pack. I'm a coach. I'm a fitness coach. What the heck? I want to look good, and I want to be a symbol of excellence. And there's no reason that I can't achieve that. I know the recipe. I'm just being a baby about it and avoiding discomfort. Let's push it. Let's turn it up and let's see what I can do. I want to reach my potential and I want to document it. I want to learn. I want to hold myself accountable for what my clients go through. And I want to walk the walk and lead by example. So that's what I wanted, but I had some new problems. Here we go. I was guessing with my nutrition. I was just guessing, right? Like, this is the thing with habit based nutrition stuff, habit based intuitive stuff around nutrition. That's all good. That's all fine and dandy. But we got to understand the cost associated with that is you're guessing. You really are just guessing. So there's a time and a place for that, which again, I'll get to in a second. But if that's what we're doing 100% of the time, we got to understand the cost associated with that is you're probably eating a lot more calories than you think. You're eating a lot more fat than you think because it sneaks in. You're probably eating a lot more sugar than you think because it sneaks in sauces and things like that. You're probably under eating protein because you're not tracking it, right? So, and that was my case for sure. I was actually drastically under eating protein. I started tracking my food just to kind of see where I was at. And I was like, oh my goodness, I am way under on my protein. This is the thing, because I was guessing. I thought I was fine. 3 meals a day, around half a pound of ground beef a day, or whatever it was. And it's like, oh, okay, I'm probably around 180 to 200 grams of protein. No, I was way under. I was like 130 to 140 or something like that. So that's a problem. Next one, I didn't have time to be in the gym any longer. So I'm like, okay, I want to reach my potential, but I can't rely on being in the gym for more. Like I'm already there 4 or 5 times a week, depending on the week. Sometimes I can push for 6, but like 4 to 5 is like the sweet spot for me. And I think it is for most people, to be honest. 5 is probably unnecessary actually for most people. I think 3 to 4 is the sweet spot for most people. But I'm like, I don't have time to be in the gym any longer. I appreciate my social life. I appreciate traveling. I appreciate specifically I have big goals around my business and servicing and looking after my clients. And I don't want to be in the gym forever. Like that's just not. I love training. I like exercising. I like the gym, but I do not want to be in here forever. And if I want to push to the next level, I need to find a way to do that without living in the gym. I wasn't willing to cut out entire food groups to get to the next level. This is, I think, very reasonable. I don't want to do. I'm down to do, quote unquote, extreme things. I want to push to the next level and do things that the average person won't do. But I don't want to do extreme things that don't pay me any ROI in the long term. And cutting out entire food groups that's not the epitome of excellence. That's not the epitome of health, in my opinion. That doesn't make me better at all. It's just a cheap way, a lazy way to try and cut out calories. There's a better way, a more intelligent way, a more methodical way to do that. And so I wasn't willing to do that. And I know a lot of people that's what they resort to, unfortunately, and they pay for it by just unsustainable results that they can't maintain. And I wasn't interested in that. I want to maintain this. I want to I look great right now. I want to look great in 3 months from now, 6 months from now, as we head into summer, and look just as good as I do now, without being like, okay, I dieted, I got super lean. Okay, well, Tim softened up a bit. No, I'm gonna hold this, and I want my system to support that. The method that I follow, it should support that. My social life and weekly date nights that I have with my wife are extremely important to me. I'm not willing to give those up, and I want to find a way that I can still have those and enjoy those, but not have them pull me off track or ruin my progress so that I'm spinning my wheels, which happens with so many people. They have client dinners, like entrepreneurs and business owners, like a lot of the people I work with. They're taking clients out. They're going out for drinks in the evening. They have whatever it is, like travel, vacation, things like that, and or date nights with the spouse. All of these things, like around hospitality, can pull people off track. They're very challenging for people to navigate, and I found a good system to navigate that, and that's what I help with my clients, and I've used it with myself as well. And it's important to understand too. It's like I think a lot of fitness people, they're kind of just hermits. They're very boring, and they don't really support like a holistic sense of health. And I don't agree with that. I think fitness should enhance our lives. I don't think it should suck it out. There's going to be a level of sacrifice. There's going to be a level of no that I think is required to separate yourself from the average person. If you want to look different than the average person, if you want a different life than the average person, you're going to have to do different things for sure. But I think we should understand that social, spiritual, emotional, and psychological health are all very, very important pieces of this entire pie. It's not just about physical health. It's all intertwined. I needed a system that was reliable, predictable, and measurable. All three. I needed something that was reliable because I didn't want to guess. I wanted something that I knew that, okay, if I follow this, this, and this, X, Y, and Z, I'm going to get A, B, C. Like my input, I do this, I get that. And that kind of goes into the predictable part. Same type of thing. I want to know that if I do these things 7, 14, 21, 28 days from now, I know that this is going to happen or something similar to that is going to happen. You hear people all the time, I hope this happens. I'm going to try this. I'm going to try that diet. Well, I'll see how it goes. It's like, that's a whole, I realize experimentation and testing is part of the process, but I think that's a horrible strategy when we're just, everything you're doing is hoping, wishing, praying. Why don't you figure out something that's proven, something that's most at the very least been tested and it's mostly proven, so you don't have to rely on guesswork or hoping or wishing or praying. It's so much better when you don't have that mental bandwidth and you have that, or I should say, you have that confidence that when I put my effort towards this, when I sacrifice this, when I do this, when I don't do that, I know I'm getting ROI in this. I know I'm getting rewarded for this. I might not get it right now, but if I can have some delayed gratification and not have instant gratification, I know that I'm gonna get paid dividends on this down the road. And I think that's crucial because a lot of people spend that emotional bandwidth on like not being terribly confident with their plan. They're like, I don't know if this will work. I don't know. I don't know. I don't. And then that's exhausting. And then eventually you just break, and then it doesn't even matter because now you're totally off track. The last thing here, measurable. This is key too. We got to have data. We got to have objective data that we can look at and make informed decisions of what are we going to do about this. I think a lot of people are just throwing stuff at the wall, and the numbers that they have, like whether it's a scale or tracking food or whatever it is, it's messy. And if it's messy, there's nothing you can do with it. It needs to be clean, it needs to be objective, and it needs to be helpful so that we can actually make informed decisions that are useful so that we can see progress. That's ultimately, we're trying to see results. If this doesn't deliver results, there's no point. Sorry, let me go through this. I'm rambling here. I want fitness to give back to my life, not take away from my life. So this was a problem I had as well, and this is a problem a lot of people have, I think. And I mean, I know because I see it with clients when they come to me. They're exhausted with their fitness taking everything away from them. They're constantly thinking about food, constantly thinking about their next meal, constantly having to cook for the next meal, constantly having to plan for the next meal, constantly having to plan when they're going to do their workouts, constantly spending time in their workouts in the gym forever, like what I was saying before. And it ends up in this, they end up like creating this monster that just sucks the life out of them. And it's like, is this healthy anymore? Like, what's the point of fitness if it's literally just sucking everything out of you, sucking the life out of you? Like, I want fitness to enhance my life. I want it to give me more life, not take away energy out of my life. Give me more energy. That's what I'm looking for. I want fitness to amplify and enhance. I do not want it to suppress and take away. And lastly, I needed a reliable strategy that keeps me on track while traveling. So this kind of goes into my social life, weekly date night thing, like hospitality. My wife Sam and I, we do a lot of traveling for like industry events and business stuff, where we meet other colleagues and just look to like level up our skills as coaches and business owners. And that's what a lot of our traveling is. Some of it's more personal, but usually it's work style trips, work-based trips. And I know a lot of my clients are like that, being entrepreneurs, business owners, and just career-driven type, like parents. They have a similar type of thing where they may be on the road a lot, traveling on planes and airports, other countries, states, provinces, whatever it is. And that those are unpredictable environments that are also largely uncontrollable. So I needed a system and a strategy that accommodated for that, because I'm not willing to change that. Now, I'm willing to look at it differently. I'm willing to change my perspective around it because my fitness goals do matter. But I needed something that was compatible. That's a better way to look at it. I needed something that was compatible with it. So those are my problems that I kind of created. I needed a way to get predictable results while also not sacrificing date nights with my wife or our frequent travel adventures. That's what it all came down to, essentially. And so I created the Elite 180 method. And this is something that I recently tested with my last 12-week fat loss phase. I've taken this, this is the last 12 weeks that I've taken this, but the Elite 180 method is also like all the information, expertise, and knowledge that I've packaged and curated from the last 8 years of my coaching. 421 plus clients have also been tested through this as well. And that's where, like, when I curated and created this and formulated this system and methodology. It's gone through the ringer. It's gone through rigorous just filtering because of, you know, almost a decade of coaching and hundreds of clients, and now myself. So that's what makes me so excited about this thing. So really, what is, you know, the Elite 180 method? Well, it's three main things. There's a lot of little accessories and sprinkles and fancy little bells and whistles, but I take care of that when I'm running clients through it. And you'll see kind of a bit of that here because of my process that I went through. But it's really, if we distill it down, it's three main things. So first one, workouts are optimized to get results with 180 minutes per week. That's all you need. It's only 3% of your time. And this is what I did for the last 12 weeks. And I'm still doing this. 45 to 60 minutes, 3 to 4 times a week. So if you go 3 times a week, you could do 60-minute sessions. That's 180 minutes a week. If you go 4 times a week, then you could do 45-minute sessions. That's 180 minutes a week. So if you have more time, take a little more time. That's fine. But you don't need more time. Everyone thinks you need to work out more. You need to train more. No, you don't. You need to train harder, if we're being honest. You need more intensity. I'll get into the specifics of what I did for that so that I was able to see great results, preserve my muscle mass while I'm in a cut, while I'm in a deficit, while literally going in the gym for 45 minutes, crushing it, getting the heck out, and then spending a 12, 13, 14-hour workday sitting at this desk and seeing great physical results while still putting my clients and my business very high priority. The nutrition formula that I use in the Elite 180 method systematically combines macros and intuitive eating. Okay, these are both like opposite ends of the spectrum. One is very structure based, one is very flexible and woo-woo, for lack of a better term. I combine them both into this perfect ratio, what I think is a perfect ratio, and that can flex actually depending on the person, which is one of my favorite parts about this. And I've coined it my macro intuitive protocol. Perfect name for it. And then lastly, strategic step targets to boost calorie output without relying on nutrition to drive fat loss. So many people miss this part. They either focus on like joint crushing workouts and cardio, hours of cardio, or like crazy high intensity like interval training HIIT stuff. And like just because they're sweating and their heart rate's up, they think they're burning a ton of fat. And they don't even do it consistently. And then they end up having to rely on nutrition to drive their calorie deficit. What's better is combining the two for the calorie deficit. Workouts preserve muscle mass. Nutrition is going to limit our calories so that we can get into a calorie deficit. Step targets is going to increase our calorie output to support that calorie deficit so that the nutrition and the steps, both of those work symbiotically to build and create and drive that consistent calorie deficit. Most people focus on one or the other. They starve themselves with the nutrition or they try and outwork a shitty diet. You should really use both symbiotically because they work together very, very well. That's why we have this triplet here. And here's why it works so well. I can eat what I want if it fits my macro targets and I still lose fat. I can have date night every week with my wife and go out on the weekend. I can make progress without traveling, throwing me off track. I can develop intuitive eating skills to make long-term sustainability easy. I can enjoy a fulfilling social life without having anxiety that I'll lose progress. And I don't need to live in the gym to make progress. Literally only 3% of my time a week. Pretty freaking awesome. So I love about this thing. Let's enter into phase 3. So we already went through phase 1 and phase 2. Phase 1 was the first fat loss phase. Phase 2 was the 40-week maintenance, where I wasn't really doing anything in regards to body composition, just trying to maintain it. And now we're moving into phase 3, my 12-week fat loss, where I take the Elite 180 method and I apply it and I test it. And I'm like, okay, let's see how this puppy works. So here's the strategies: 3 to 4 meals per day. The meals don't matter exactly because I had the macro-based plan. But weigh in daily, and then I just monitor the weekly average or the monthly average, and I basically look, this is what I tell everybody, 14 to 28 days is when you should see a downward drop on the scale. Not day-to-day, not even weekly. You want 14 to 28 day cycles, okay? Because the scale's gonna do this. Everyone freaks out. You're too zoomed in. This is the saying you want to remember. When in doubt, zoom out. You're looking at the scale, it's freaking you out, you're losing your mind. Zoom out, okay? Look up and be like, okay, 14 to 28 days, let's look. It probably won't be so bad. Now, if you zoom out and you look 14, 28 days and it's legit flat, you're not hitting new all-time lows, you need to change something. You are now eating at maintenance. You need to change something in the formula. This is what I help my clients do, okay? This is Plateaus are not a bad thing. They're very valuable pieces of information. And I hit a plateau in this 12-week fat loss as well. Changed my macros, didn't touch my steps, just kept those the same, but dropped my macros. Boom, went into overdrive. Last 4 weeks, got shredded. Macro-based plan married with the intuitive approach, like what I was chatting about. Okay, so these are the two things that I've combined in my macro intuitive protocol. This has been a godsend from like a nutritional perspective, just blending that reliability and structure with flexibility and just margin, room for restaurants, date nights, travel, social time with friends, whatever. 2 free meals. So that's what those are, right? The 2 free meals is part of the intuitive approach. So 2 meals per week. It's around 8 to 10% of my meals total, somewhere around there, 7 to 10%. And I plan for those every week. I'm having one tonight. This will be my second one of this week. And I don't know what I'm going to get, but I'm going to get something. And I have a specific framework to help with that, which I'll get to in a second. 12K daily step target. So 12,000 steps per day. I had to hit this no matter what. I wasn't even perfect with this, but I was hella consistent. And that's key, because that's going to help us just drive that calorie deficit without relying on just like restricting the calories like crazy. We got to do both. But they work symbiotically if we are consistent with both, and we don't have to do anything extreme to either. That's kind of the idea. Workouts were 180 minutes per week. I use density style training to do this, which I'll get to in a second as well. And I weigh and tracked everything, but 90% of the time, because 8 to 10%, 7 to 10% was the free meals, which are totally untracked. Okay. Now let's go through each of these. Okay. So workouts, let's start here. So specifically, what does this look like? Workouts optimized to get results with 180 minutes per week with only 3% of my time awake. Here's what they look like. Okay. This is what it did for me. Some of this stuff is not applicable to everyone, but the overall principles are. You can take the principles to these and apply them to yourselves. Apply it to yourself, but at the same time, some of this is personalized and customized to me, right? The principles are applicable to everyone. The exact application of them need to be personalized and customized to each person, which is what I do as a coach with my clients in my one-on-one coaching program. So let's go through this. So this is what I did, right? I just want to make that clear. The principles you can apply, but I wouldn't recommend copying exactly what I did necessarily. So 4 to 5 days of resistance training. 4 days was the minimum. If I had time, or if I split up that fourth workout in half, then I would just do a 4th and a 5th day. But yeah, 4 to 5 days of resistance training. I also did 1 to 2 runs. Now, a lot of people look at running like, oh, that's like, there's some fancy magic fat loss thing going on there. No, running does not help you burn fat. Running, it kind of does in a way, because it helps you get more steps in a shorter amount of time, but that's literally it. There's nothing magic about running or getting your heart rate up other than just better cardiovascular health. So it's good for your health, but there's nothing magic when it comes to fat loss. The reason I did this was because, number one, it actually helped me get in more steps in less time, so I could focus on this stuff and work and support my clients and whatever, just other things in life that aren't the gym. And also, I kind of like a side quest, I wanted to improve my cardiovascular training. I'm still doing that now because I want to run some 5 and 10K races with my mom and potentially some other friends that enjoy running as well this summer. So I wanted to train for that. So it just worked well to kind of combine that, because I can get more steps at the same time. Perfect. So 180 minutes per week plus the runs. So you don't need to do the runs, but I did it just because that was like my little side quest. 45 to 60 minutes, most workouts. I say most workouts because some days I had a little more, so I would push it. That's fine. Or sometimes I'm just wasting time on my phone, like answering clients or making a social media post or whatever, or filming some of my stuff or whatever it is, and that just takes more time. And if I have the time, I'll do that, but I didn't need to. So there is wasted time in there. I'll be perfectly honest with this, but you really don't need it. 45 to 60 minutes is fine. 180 minutes is around 3% of waking hours for most people. It's actually under for most people, because most people only sleep 6 to 7 hours a night, which means that it's actually like closer to 2 to 2.5 of your waking hours. That's nothing. Everyone thinks you have to go train all the time. You don't need to spend all your time at the gym. Density training is what I used to do this. So cluster sets, rest pause sets, supersets, drop sets. Okay. So these are all different strategies to do that. You can DM me if you want some help on like kind of how to do these. Google will do that too. That's fine. But I'm also happy to answer that for you. I use some of these strategies with my clients as well, particularly all the entrepreneurs, business owners, and career-driven clients, like parents that I work with that just don't have the time. They're like, dude, I need strategies to get all of these workouts in. What do I do? Boom. We implement clusters, rest pause, supersets, drop sets, stuff like that. These are like four of my favorite ways. These are all parts of density training. And for me, I use a little bit of all of these as well, but mostly a lot of like cluster and rest pause sets, which are basically similar, basically the same thing. Most sets, this is key. Most sets taken to or close to failure. This is absolutely crucial because you need intensity. Everyone's too soft when it comes to training. This is a huge problem. They train too long. The only reason they're able to train so long is because they're too soft with their training. It's like, yeah, I can't train 2 hours straight. I can't do it because I'm taking everything close to or actually to failure. I'm exhausted. Like my muscles are done. So if you're actually training hard, you really don't need to train that long. This is a mistake so many people make. So what I do is I'll do ramping sets to 1 or 2 top sets. So that basically means like, okay, if I'm gonna do, if I'm gonna do a split squat, lunge type thing, then with dumbbells, maybe I start body weight. Obviously, you would start body weight, warm up, right? Do a few sets there. Then I would add some light dumbbells. Then I add a little bit more. Then I add a little bit more. Then I'm like, okay, I'm almost at my top set. I'm going to try something crazy and then push it. And I go damn near close to failure, if not complete failure. Failure on split squats are pretty tough. So, but yeah, we're trying to get as close as we can. So like ramping sets, I'm gradually adding weight to a top set. You really only need 1 top set on most things, maybe 2 if you have a little bit of juice left, but you don't need more than that. You don't, this idea of like 3-4 sets of 10 or 12, you don't need that. That's crazy. Just ramp up, hit a really, really heavy set, makes you feel like your eyeballs are gonna, blow out of your skull. You're good. That's all you need. Way less time, way more effective, way higher quality work. 4 to 6 exercises max per workout. So my leg days were actually only 3. When you do high quality work, you really don't need that much. Trust me, come work out with me, I'll show you. The 6 exercises, that's on the high end too. Like most of my workouts are 4 to 5. If I'm doing 6, it's because I'm like maybe doing abs or like some lateral raise stuff or like some extra arm work or something like that, but you really don't need much. This was my weekly split. So I would do push on day 1, pull on day 2, legs on day 3, then rest, like a light run, walk, and then push and pull on day 5, I guess, but day 4 of training. And sometimes I would split this up. So I would do push there and then pull here. That's why I said I do 5 days sometimes. But usually I would combine it, push and pull, and then rest and run, and then rest. So I would get like 2 runs in a week. I wasn't even super consistent with that. Usually it was 1, if I'm being honest. But yeah, that's the workout kind of strategy there. Here is my nutrition formula. Okay, so nutrition formula systematically combines macros and intuitive eating into what I call my macro-intuitive protocol. Here we go. So customized macro targets for a calorie deficit is exactly what I did for myself. This is exactly what I do with my clients. Although this is going to be highly personalized to each person, obviously. So for me, what I like to do is this. So I took my body weight, 185 I took my body weight in pounds and I times it by 14. Now, this isn't a perfect science, but this worked well for me, and this is where I started. Okay, so 2,500 calories is where I started, and then I set my macros based off of that. I started with 200 grams of protein, and then I forget carbs and the fats. Weighed and tracked everything 90 to 92% of the time, like I said, because I have 2 free untracked meals. So plan for 2 free untracked meals per week per the macro intuitive protocol. This ends up being around 8%, 7 to 8% of my meals. And what I did is I followed what I call the PSA framework for my free meals. So what this is protein and veg. This is number 1 priority. So when you're eating an untracked meal, look for protein, look for veg. Like you need as much of both of those as you can. We don't want to get super bingy about it. You don't need a plate overflowing with it. But as far as the actual meal, the percentage of the meal should be majority protein and veg, if not all of it. That's what you're going to focus on when it comes to food. And you can sprinkle in some other stuff in there, but you need most or all of it protein and veg. That's what you want to look for. Simple. Second thing, slow down. Everybody eats way too quick. Slow down. Literally chew as many times as you can with each bite. And this is what I think about. Make the meal take as long as possible. That's always a good cue for myself. And then that step actually helps with the third one, the A, which is always stop at 80%. Or lighter, so 80% full. You want to stop when you're like, oh, I could fit 3, 4, 5 more bites. I want to keep eating. I want dessert. I want a second helping. Stop. That's where you want to stop. This is huge. So that 3-step process, the PSA framework, is massive when it comes to like intuitive eating skills around these untracked meals. Because that's the problem with most people is this is the thing within our industry too, right? You're hearing me say untracked meals, free meals. You're probably thinking, these are all called cheat meals. I know what these are. These are cheat meals. No, they're not. These are not cheat meals. Cheat meals are implying that you're cheating. These are part of the program. There's no cheating. In fact, I have clients sometimes not do their free meals, and I'm like, hey, you're cheating the program. because these are part of the program. So not doing these is cheating the program. We want you to learn these intuitive eating skills because they help with sustainability and your relationship with food long term. One of the ways that it's going to be easy for me to maintain my six pack after my diet right now is because of the skills that I've built in the PSA framework, things like this, all of my intuitive eating skills. So you need to develop these, and the only way to develop them is honestly not to be perfect. Like, you're gonna screw this up. I do all the time. I did this past Wednesday. I ate way too much, and my gut was paying for it the next day, and that happens. But I'm way better than I used to be. I'm constantly getting better. I'm constantly improving, constantly getting better with it, and that happens from reps. That happens from practice. So if you're not doing free meals, untracked meals, deliberately used as an opportunity to develop your intuitive eating skills, you're never going to learn those skills. And then you're either going to have to just rely on just a meal plan or macros, and that's it 100% of the time, or you're going to fall off track, right? It's like that's you either or is your only option there, instead of just blending the both together. Macro intuitive protocol. It's the best way to do it. I'm biased, but this is why I love it. I had staple foods and ate the same meals 80% of the time. It's simple and fast. So I would have things like Brussels sprouts, buckwheat, white fish, ground chicken, chicken breast, sweet Thai chili sauce, which I was very careful of because of the calories, and now I started to do that less towards the end. But Frank's, mustard, and there's like a bruschetta mix that was very low calorie that I would get as well from a grocery store here. And then broccoli as well, but mostly Brussels sprouts because they're so filling, really good volume. And then cream of rice. Like, other than that, it's like I had the odd sprinkle thing in there, but like those were my staples, and I always had them. I had shrimp as well, actually, too. So whitefish and shrimp, frozen. Like, I buy a lot of frozen food because it's just easy, right? And so 80% of the time, simple, fast, literally 10 minutes per meal. Like, I have my staple meals with staple foods, and I can make them in 10 minutes. Fast. Like, when I need to go make dinner tonight, it's like, boom, I could just make it like that. Easy peasy. It's just so much better to be consistent. I can throw it into I can weigh it, throw it in my macros. I know exactly what to look for because I've made it a million times already. Because it's not new, right? People fall into this trap of new, novel, diverse, like fancy, complex. It's like, don't do that to yourself. Keep things the same, right? It doesn't need to be the exact same every time, but like 80 to 90% of the meal should be like pretty similar. Like what I'll do is like, it'll be like ground chicken, buckwheat, and like fried onions, and maybe some broccoli or something like that, right? That's an example. With Frank's, salt, and maybe a little bit of sweet Thai chili sauce if I have the calories or macro room to put some of that in there. Boom, done. And a great way to switch that up is maybe I literally just take out the sweet Thai chili sauce, do a different sauce, and then I do taco seasoning with the ground chicken. Boom. Okay, so the foods are essentially the same there, like 99% the same, but the flavor is going to be way different, right? So that's a great strategy. I followed this for 8 weeks, these strategies, and then the only thing I changed for the last 4 weeks was I dropped my calories to 2,300, and that's when shit got gnarly. Yeah, that was fun. That's when I started getting lean, and that's when the cravings and the hunger went to the next level, and that was a really good experience for me. Really good experience. I think everyone should experience that, to be honest, because it'll teach you some things about yourself. It's good. Okay. Strategic, this is the third one, right? So strategic step targets to boost calorie output without relying on nutrition to drive fat loss. So this is what I did. I set a sustainable but substantial enough target to hit daily minimum. You need to do that as well. That's exactly sustainable but substantial enough. Everybody's way too soft on this. I set 12K daily and was very diligent, getting steps in late at night many times, but I also wasn't 100%. I was not perfect with this. I screwed this up a lot, but I never fell off track. If I had a day where I didn't hit it, I was like, damn, okay, like it is what it is. Tomorrow I'll smoke them. It's all good. I didn't necessarily make up for it the next day. I just went back on track, forgot it ever happened, and was like, I was honest with myself. I got to do better. Running was a side hobby, totally separate, like I said, but it did help get step count up just in like a shorter amount of time. But there's nothing magic about that compared to walking when it comes to fat loss. Walking or running, doesn't matter. You don't need to run. Big hack was this. I have a cheap walking pad here at home in the basement, so I highly recommend that. 150 to 200 bucks. It's the best investment ever. I just did it while I was like texting clients and making social media posts or calling friends or whatever. Another hack: get your steps in as early as possible in the day, or when you're doing errands, like walk. Depending on how much time you have, like a grocery store, good example. If you can walk there, walk there. Also, if you can't, drive there, cool. But then park in the farthest end of the parking lot. Don't try and get as close as possible. You want to like look at like steps like they're bonus points. Get as many points as you can. Park far end of the parking lot and then walk into the grocery store. And then if you have the time, walk. This is something Sam and I do. We walk every aisle of the grocery store. It's not like we walk slow. We still like, we're in and out, but we'll do every aisle because we want the extra steps. What the steps do is they support a consistent calorie deficit by keeping output high without just relying on nutrition restriction, which would mean we just end up starving. And we're going to be hungry anyway, right? But it becomes a lot harder if you are not using steps symbiotically to support the calorie deficit as well. Because the calorie deficit is supported by two things, output and input. If you're only relying on input, it's way harder on output. If you're only relying on output, it's way harder on input. Like use both because it's so much better. That's what we do here. So this is what the difference is in my 12 weeks. So you can see my abs really come in. Love handles come down. The lines come in. Pretty freaking sweet. So this was on my photo shoot day. And this isn't a great photo, but it was one of the only ones I had around that 12-week mark. But yeah, you can see like kind of just like fit, right? But I'm soft. And I was like, you know what? I want to tighten up. I want to look dope. I want to look the best I've ever looked. And I did. And I'm happy about it. So this is what the last 12-week phase looked like visually. And this is what my scale looked like. So you can see here. This is when we started. We went to Florida. So that was our first trip. Remember, I went outside the country 4 times during this whole 12 weeks. So Florida was right here. So you can see weigh-ins are all weird. That's fine. Boom, quick progress here. And then this is Christmas. Look at this, right? Totally unsexy. Boom, dropped all-time low here. This is just after New Year's. Dropped again, boom, after a big spike. And then we went to Dallas. This is somewhere here. Actually, that's probably what this is, Dallas. And then all-time low here. And then I think this is Barbados. Yeah, went to Barbados for a week. And I didn't weigh any of my food there. I used all PSA framework and all my intuitive eating skills plus crush steps. And I did great. And then I came back and actually hit an all-time low. I was very happy with that. And then we went to Dallas again somewhere here and then finished out here. So yeah, 4 different trips in there. Crazy. And then this is me just recently in the last like week and a half, 2 weeks, basically in my reverse phase, which is what to expect, right? So the all-time low, diet phase ends, and then boom, little spike up. And I'm just going to hang out in this channel now. Once I hit this is 172 right here. So I'm holding like 174 to 176, which is right on the money. Okay, so this is it all distilled down. It's a 3-step formula, predictable results, no extra time, 0 guesswork, flexible to each person. This is what I was saying with like the macro intuitive protocol. It's like we do 2 free meals. That's the default I use with a lot of my clients. That's what I use for myself. A lot of people, like depending on their lifestyle and work things, if they have client dinners and their whatever, it's like you might have to do 3 or 4 or 5. And some weeks might be like 7 or 8. Like I help clients navigate through that. That's normal. That's not that crazy. But that's the thing. You can flex it to each person, right? And even within each person, you can flex it each week and each month. It's not always necessarily the same thing. That's what I love about it. And it's sustainable principles. This is stuff that you can apply to a fat loss phase. This is stuff you can apply to a maintenance phase, to your reverse phase, to your strength phase, to your hypertrophy phase, to your high rocks, to your marathon training, whatever it is. It's freaking awesome. So yeah. And then this is just another before and after of this is, man, I was a chubby boy. And this is actually a selfie of me in Dallas. So this was when I was in Dallas. I was like, man, I'm holding it together here. That was, I think, our second trip in Dallas, which is pretty cool. But yeah, so take this proven method that has been shown to work for me, but also, just as a reminder, over 421 of my clients as well. You can literally copy it for yourself. Just keep in mind, I already mentioned the disclaimer, like certain aspects of this are a personalized prescription for me, and that's what I do with my clients, right? I customize and personalize these principles to them. So make sure you are applying the principles. You can copy the principles, but the specific strategies within those principles that require personalization, customization, you have to do that for yourself. Or if you want to fast track results and let me customize it for you, I can teach you this methodology in my one-on-one coaching program, and you can just focus on executing. 0 guesswork, only work out 3% of the time, proven nutrition plan. It's great for entrepreneurs, business owners, career-driven parents, people that are like, I don't have the time, but I know that if I'm fit and I can maintain a fit physique, I know that I'm going to feel more confident in every room that I enter. I know that I'm going to look good. I know that I'm going to feel good. I know that I'm going to act good. I know that I'm going to play good. I'll probably make more money. I'll probably make more friends. I'll probably have better sex. Like all of, like it enhances everything. Everything is better in your life, and I know you know this. And if you're that person, then you know that you just need to get to that point where like, okay, how do I get to that level of fitness so that it enhances everything else? And then I have this flywheel, this momentum machine that feeds itself and just keeps going. It's like that's where I'm at right now, and that's what I want to teach you. I'm at this point where I'm not worried I'm going to fall off track. Like I'm good. I got this momentum. I got this wheel. This flywheel. I got this machine that's kind of self-feeding, and it just keeps going. It's awesome. It doesn't mean I'm perfect, but it does mean that like I can wake up every day and know what the results are going to be depending on what my inputs are, because I know what the outputs are going to be based on that, and it feels great knowing that. So if that's you, let me know. And DM me depending on how you got this. Depending on how you got this video, you can send me a DM on Instagram at I am Tim Walcott, and we can go from there and we can book a consult. But hopefully this helped you. Would love working with you. If not, I want to see you win anyway. So like I said, take these principles, apply them to yourself, and go get a win.